Welcome back to the Professional Lovers. I'm Al.
I'm Patty Conwell, and we're glad to be back with you. We're a little late. We're doing last week's recap. You know, our lives are kind of topsy-turvy right now, so we get to this when we get to it. But we're trying not to miss any of the episodes.
And we appreciate you catching up with us.
That's right. That's right. So if you're just joining us, we have been married 27 years, almost 28. We enjoy talking about relationship issues through the lens of Married at First Sight because we are all Married at First Sight fans, although this would not be a way to get married that I would recommend.
True.
But we enjoy talking about the issues that come up because the issues that these couples face are issues that most couples face, exactly, one way or the other. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about last week's episode, and we're going to include a new feature at the end where we talk about one or two comments that were made on our YouTube page channel. And so if you would like to have your comment mentioned, then you're going to have to
make it a good one.
You're
make
right.
it a good one.
Thoughtful. Discussion provoking. Yeah, because we enjoy answering everybody's feedback, but definitely those type, and we do have one. I think this week that we want to throw out there to you. So let's go ahead and get started. Unfortunately, Michaela and Zach didn't have too much going on this week because again, he's been quarantined with COVID.
But improving.
And it was nice that the group tried to include him.
True, they reached out.
In group things that they did, the dinner they got together and ate, and then talked to him from his balcony. So that was nice. So I'm sure that we'll be seeing more of Michaela and Zach in the coming weeks. And it looks a little scary, I might add.
Yes.
Our favorite first people, Merla and Gil. It seems all the couples this week were talking about one thing in particular, which was moving in together. Because they have come to the end of their honeymoon, and now they're getting ready to move in together and start their routines.
And the discussions that have permeated between the groups have been on point. I mean, they're all conscientious. They're all deliberate in their movements. And even the questions amongst themselves are, provocative and thought-provoking and real, which is percentage-wise, it's a lot different than previous seasons.
Right. One aspect is a lot different than previous seasons, and that's the fact that according to what's been said,
and we have no reason to not believe,
no couple consummated their marriage during the honeymoon week.
Exactly.
And I don't think that's ever happened.
I don't believe so.
Y'all can correct us if we're wrong, but I don't think there's always been at least one who sometime during the week consummated the marriage, but nobody did. And all the women in this group seem to want to have the emotional connection before following it through with the physical connection. And not because they're necessarily prudish, because Bao said that, physical intimacy is always easy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's why this time with this connection, she's looking for emotional intimacy first. So I found that very interesting that all the women and all the men are being patient. And don't seem to be forcing anything.
True.
Yeah,
that's
which is cool. So Merla and Gil talking about getting together, living together after the honeymoon. The main thing that caught me off guard was the dog conversation.
It seemed very one-sided.
Gil has a dog whom he's had since it was 6 weeks old. Merla does not have a dog because she's
not a pet person.
She doesn't want the responsibility. And we can understand why. So
Well, wait a minute. When you say that, what do you mean we can understand why?
Because Merla likes Merla. She takes care of Merla.
I was thinking that
Merla is the only responsibility that she wants to have.
No, I was thinking that we have had a dog and
now
we
don't
have a dog.
No.
Okay.
No, I wasn't a pet person either. But, we have an only child, and growing up, we wanted him to have some company, so we got a dog.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
You're not getting another one.
No. Been there, done that, over.
Yeah.
But I understand not being a pet person, meaning I didn't grow up with pets. So I never looked at dogs or cats, but dogs as like treating them like people.
Mm-hmm.
That's never been my mentality. My mentality is it's an animal, and I'm going to take care of it, treat it nicely. But yeah, I don't put dogs on the same plane as humans.
No, but they are companions.
Yes, they are.
And when they become part of your life, they are part of your life. I mean, you achieve an emotional attachment to them, and even though the conversation was extremely one-sided, I don't know if there was any additional conversation to make it even seem like Gil was willing to allow Merla to
get used to the idea. So Gil, the conversation, if you remember, was about walking the dog.
Yeah.
Gil works 24 hours twice a week. He's a firefighter,
right?
And he has paid for a dog walker to walk his dog during the times that he's at work. And in his mind, now that I have a wife, my wife can walk the dog. And Merla was like, no, I'm not walking the dog. If you paid for a dog walker, you can keep paying for a dog walker. And of course, he was like, but that's a waste of money. Why would I waste money to pay for a dog walker if I have somebody at the house who could walk the dog? I'm not asking you to play with it. I'm just asking you to walk the dog. And she was like, no, I'm not walking the dog. Okay. And then what did he say? Well, if you can't walk the dog, then that's going to make it very hard for me to want to get to know you
any further.
I thought that was a bit much.
Which makes me wonder if that was the whole conversation regarding that.
True. We don't know if production, kind of cut it there. Yeah. But the reality is, if a person is not an animal person and you're already paying for a dog walker, continue to pay for a dog walker until she either gets used to the idea, steps out of her comfort zone to offer to walk the dog. I mean, because that happens.
Mm-hmm. True.
Dogs worm their way into your heart, and all of a sudden you're loving on the dog that you said you would never love on. But give her that opportunity.
True. Definitely. And that's why I think that, there may have been more conversation than we saw, on camera.
I hope so.
But question for y'all. If you are not a pet person, and you happen to engage with someone who happens to be a pet person, would you expect that pet to not be involved within the relationship that you're now becoming a part of? And again, not that you have to take care of it, not that it, you have to bond or whatever the case may be, but that is part of your new relationship package.
Right.
So what's your thoughts on someone with a pet that not that it becomes your responsibility, but how do you think you would relate to the pet as part of the package?
There you go.
Yeah.
A question for you to answer.
Yeah.
We'll be interested in seeing what you say. So how that works out is going to be interesting. Yeah. The whole pet thing. Because
again, the ultimatums aren't
ever
good. They're not they shouldn't be part of any discussion. I mean,
if you think in an ultimatum, it's best to not say that and let things play out.
Yeah.
And you address things as they come up.
Because when you think about ultimatums, you're putting a person in a corner.
Exactly.
And they have no way out but your way. And that's not called a relationship. That's called a dictatorship.
There you go. And we're trying to avoid dictatorships as much as possible.
Yes.
So that's going to be interesting, of course. And then they were talking about kids. Yeah, Gil said he wants 8. I find it interesting how cavalierly men can talk about the number of children that they want.
She said that those 3 letters, men.
Yeah, in general.
Okay, thank you.
That always in talking in general, dear.
Okay.
Although you did give me a number 2, but it wasn't outlandish.
We tried.
8 kids, and you don't have to carry any of them. That's number 1. You see Merla birthing any kids?
You said any.
Yeah. Now, of course, she may want to have children, but she doesn't want 8, and I wouldn't either. And then he said, "Hey, I'm not talking about you naturally birthing 8 kids.
True.
I'm talking about adoption too." But she was like, "No, no on the adoption.
The adoption at all." And I did have a concern when we were having.
Right. Now, he wanted 2. I had the first one. I had trouble getting the second one. By the time the first one was like past the diaper potty training bottle phase, we were already. I was
40 turning
exactly.
Diapers.
So it's not like we were in our 20s.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to start over again. So we ended at 1. And then, and the first pregnancy, it was a little risky, right? Mm-hmm. So I didn't really want to chance it because he came out perfect. Yeah. So anyway, we did talk about adoption.
Yeah, and we did.
At one point, and you kind of shut that down.
Well, I wasn't, and it's not like I know anything about adoption, the process, the procedure, the vetting, situation. But always in the back of my mind, I always thought about what would be in that child's DNA that we don't know about.
Hereditary, genetic transference, because we are all part of our parents.
True.
DNA. So we carry weaknesses, we carry strengths that are genetic.
True.
And
it's not to say that, love can't overshadow some things that a child may have a propensity of doing, depending on the situation. But that was certain things that would pop up in my mind, no matter how much I would love this child, that they would just have an angry nature or something, a belligerent nature. And it's not to say that I wouldn't do it, but it just wasn't a preferred situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have 1, and that's it.
And a dog.
And a dog. We had a dog.
We did.
Yes. So that the kid discussion is always an interesting one. Bao and Johnny had similar types of serious conversation. There's more in the line of how they operate at home.
Yeah, on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and Johnny
got a touch of OCD
with his 3 showers a day.
Not all the time, but he would prefer.
No, I think I thought that he did do 3 showers a day. He didn't require her to do that, but he was hoping that she would shower like once a day, every day.
Yeah.
And she was like, sometimes I just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
wake up in the morning and shower, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So he started looking real over that. And then when she said, and what if I worked out and came home and I just plop on the bed and go to sleep.
And she even gave an option that if that were the case, I would sleep on the couch. And
he was just change the sheets.
Yeah.
And so that's their definition of clean, their definition of neat,
yeah,
appear to be a little different
from one another. Yes,
and that's sending red flags up in Johnny's head.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So they're both very nervous about moving in, and it's it's for some it's hard to adapt to that, especially if you're older and you've been single a long time like we were. But I don't remember that being an issue with us. Maybe because I grew up with 4 brothers, so being around men was not weird with all of the things that they do. So.
And I can't necessarily, well, again, going to all boys school, I know some of the things we do.
Yeah.
I wasn't like any of her brothers.
No, but my comfort level around men was very high. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember us going through any major transitions of adapting our lifestyles to each other.
True. Yeah, we didn't have any idiosyncrasies that, could not be adjusted to or adjusted for,
Now, one thing that Bao said that I liked was that his forthrightness doesn't bother her. She actually likes it. It doesn't scare her. Yeah. And I have to say, right now, they, I think, have the best communication style. Yeah. The best communication skills because they are forthright with each other. They don't seem to verbally pass judgment on what the other says. Right. And if they do, they kind of take time and then they come back and talk it out. Yeah. So if they keep doing that, that is what's going to help make them successful.
Yeah, to get them through any situation.
Yeah. Rachel and Jose. Well, money is going to be the challenge for them. She admits that she spends freely and probably needs help in that department.
Yeah.
He's kind of as rigid with his money and budgeting and all that as she is kind of spender.
Yeah, and I wouldn't consider her a frivolous spender.
Right.
Because basically what it came down to was one thing that was on her bucket list while they were young. She wanted to go to Switzerland. Okay?
Dream trip.
Major expense, definitely. But to her defense, she says she takes a trip every year.
No, every month.
Every month.
And a big trip
every other year.
Right.
Okay? Now,
which means that she's planning.
Right. Exactly.
She's budgeting her money and she's planning for what she wants to spend it on.
And to me, I think with what she does, I think that can bring something to his existence in just being more of an explorer. Not necessarily, just spending money, but I'm talking about planning for something other than retirement.
The local, right, retirement. Yes, you need money for children, mm-hmm. but money is also for you to enjoy.
Exactly.
It's not
you make it, you spend it.
Yes,
you make it,
it's
you
not
spend
to be so tight-fisted that you can't really enjoy it.
And again, kudos to Jose. I mean, he has done phenomenally financially for himself.
Mm-hmm. And he's very prepared for Rachel.
He's very prepared for anybody. So why not enjoy it with someone you're now going to share your life with? Just adapt your skill set to her pocket change and adapt some of her lifestyle to your existence.
Yeah.
And share. I mean, that's what relationship is all about, sharing.
Yeah. Then the last couple, Brett and Ryan, she went out of her comfort zone during their activities mm-hmm. and did water stuff that she doesn't like. I think the biggest discussion between them that became a discussion with everyone are what happens when you're with someone whose political view is different from yours. And I think that's the first time that we've heard that discussion.
Yeah.
On Married at First Sight. And in today's current political society, where everything is hyper partisan, and we're at this mentality of my way is the right way, whether you're conservative, liberal, and my way is the right way, and if you don't agree with my way, then it's not just about you disagreeing. I have to annihilate you.
Cancel culture.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And in today's society, that differing political views would be harder to
navigate within a household.
Navigate, that's a good word, than it was even 5-10 years ago.
And definitely, but again, I think it's dependent upon the personalities and the characters of the individuals involved, because there's always more than one way. So it's not just a right and a wrong way. You have your way,
right,
and I may have my way. Are we trying to achieve the same objective, or are we trying to cancel something out?
Just so it'll be my way.
Exactly.
And that's the key. It's, this idea that you cannot negotiate and compromise, that you can't work together,
that you're not even willing to,
is ridiculous. It's more of a power play than it is trying to really get. It's power focused rather than purpose focused. Yeah. It's power focused. And so, Brett feels like, she and Ryan's political views are not going to match up, just like their lifestyles don't match up. He's an outdoors person, country boy, and she's like, I'm not any of that. I don't listen to country music. I don't like being outside a lot.
It's interesting though. She's a softball coach.
Yeah, but that's different than going camping and going fishing and going.
Not really.
Well, I think so.
Okay, you spend nights out versus you spend all day out. You're out.
But baseball
I understand
is different than hunting.
Playing again.
I'm just saying.
Well, no, she doesn't have to go hunting with him.
But that's what he does. That's one of the other things that she talked about in previous weeks. That he's a country boy.
He is.
So, but he appreciated her getting out to kayak, and even though she wouldn't look at the manatee, I'm like, just leave it alone. She's out in the kayak.
Yeah. And
she's doing that. So let's be grateful for that. So but the whole political thing, it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Fortunately, we're on the same page with that. Whatever. But I'm sure that there are plenty of couples out there who are not on the same page with that. And that takes a lot of patience. And as Gil said, that is not a deal breaker. But then Merla said that is a deal breaker. So, you really have to work through that. And it can work. We know plenty. Well, not plenty. We know several celebrities, public figures who are married, who are in different camps.
True.
And somehow they make it work.
They survive.
So, all right. So that's it for the couples. Now, what about the person? And we'll just use the first name. I believe it's Dahlia. I had asked a question last week. Why do positive people get on people's nerves? Why do people with positive personalities, and my mom is one of those people, positive all the time.
All the time.
And Dahlia said that in her view, positive people get on people's nerves mainly because you don't really know their personal feelings about anything. If they're always positive, they're not sharing their personal opinion, and so they're not letting you know is this okay? How do you feel about this? What do you like? What do you don't like? Tell me the truth. And so there is kind of an inference there that people who naturally see things from a positive perspective are not being truthful. But let me say, as a person whose personality is optimistic, that's what I lead with. I lead with positivity. I don't see positive right away in everything because every situation is not positive. True. But I look for positive in every situation. And I don't allow the negative to hold me down and keep me in a dark, depressive place.
True.
Whereas a pessimistic person naturally leads with the negativity.
Or even not necessarily negative. I consider myself a realist. Let's just say a realist who just looks at the current state of affairs and how things kind of trend and so forth. Just like
is a realist different from a pessimist?
I think so.
Right. So a pessimist is someone, and I'm not saying this who you are, but a pessimist is someone who leads with the negative aspect or viewpoint first.
True.
And they have to work to find something positive out of a situation. Now, a
realist in many people's eyes probably are often negative because of what they're starting at, which is a base level of what is, and so
not what can be.
Right. And depending on what is, if it becomes a discussion, we're not starting off a great discussion, of everything being, jolly. It's usually an issue that is being discussed that needs some type of adjustment, So just like Patty's mother is one of a kind. I say that with the utmost respect and love for this woman. I was raised by a correction officer. My mother was a correction officer. And she was matter of fact, she was a conspiracy theorist.
She was from New York.
Yeah, just, everything had a reason for whatever it was. But again, being a realist, usually that situation that you're discussing is a negative situation that needs some addressing. It needs to be rectified, and this is how we go about doing it, and so on and so forth. I look at Mom, Patty's mother, as an exceptionally unique individual because there is not an evil bone in her body. She doesn't have an evil DNA chromosome. That's just the way she is.
She does not want to speak negative about anyone, and she doesn't want to hear it.
No one.
She doesn't entertain that kind of discussion on really any level. And it makes her very uncomfortable.
True. But even if she does, happen to address someone, or let's say there's a discussion going on about something that is just
messy.
She will find that maze corner that there's a way out. There's a way out. They don't have to stay that way. And in all honesty, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And just like I said, I think I referenced it last week, the bell curve is that way for a reason. There's a certain minute percentage on both sides, both negative and positive, of which we probably never encounter. But every now and then you do. And Mom is on that positive bell curve percentage that is that 0.5 that you just kind of discard because there's no way that it can really be that way, but nothing's perfect.
But she really is.
She is.
She's very genuine. And
extremely.
She does get on some people's nerves. who are not like that.
I was never mothered that way. And there are times where, oh, ow. I'm like, ooh. But yeah, I mean, and I know what she means. I mean, I know that it's all for my benefit. She would sacrifice anything for me because I belong to her, who she would sacrifice anything for as well. But I'm not accustomed to that.
Yeah, it's somebody you have to get used to that kind of person. Yeah. But
so Dahlia, they do exist.
And thank you, Dahlia, for sharing your perspective. And we appreciate it a lot. And that's it for us.
Yes.
We've kept you 30 minutes, so it's time to go. And if we can see you again this week with Wednesday's episode, we will. But regardless of when we talk about it, we'll talk about it. Definitely. Promise. Until then, you guys stay safe.
Yes.
Be careful. And peace.
Enjoy.